Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Hope you guys are all having a great Monday, a good start to the week and enjoyed your weekend as we start to look forward to the return of the Premier League and Newcastle United. I've said this before, I love the tournaments, I love the Euros, I love the World Cup. The international breaks, however, are just not very fun, especially when England are playing dreadfully at the moment. Despite the players we've got, we don't want to attack, do we? We want to defend and still lose every game we play. Having said that, I'm hoping that once we get to the World Cup, there'll be a change in mentality of the players and we can really push for something. And I know Southgate's getting a lot of stick right now, but he has given us, two of the best finishes that we've had in a very long time. And France, I think both France and Germany have both also won one of their last 5 or 6 games. So it's not just England. And bearing in mind that, France is probably one of the favourites to win it, they're not playing that great either. So, despite the fact that England are having a poor international break, I will be tempted to say that Newcastle have had a worse one because of the number of injuries which are cropping up right now during this international break. I should say, by the way, I am in the car, as you've probably noticed already, out and about this morning. But I had to jump on because of the amount of news that's coming out right now. It's never ending. We do have a little bit of good news, but mostly quite concerning news as we head into the game against Fulham this weekend. And a game against a promoted side who have started the season pretty well. You look at Mitro. It would not surprise me to see Mitro get at least 1 goal this weekend. But as we talk about the fact that we have played all right this season, we're doing okay. We've only lost once. We've got a few draws. And if you just think of the decisions that have gone against us, a couple of the chances that we just put them in the back of the net. Think about the Bournemouth game. I came out of the Bournemouth game and I was very deflated. Very disappointed, and I think a lot of that was because despite the injuries that we had, I really felt like the players that were available were good enough to get the job done, and because we didn't win, it was disappointing. But had Trippier's free kick gone 1 inch to the right and gone in the back of the net and would won that game, I would have come out going, look, we had over 20 shots, we scored the goal, won the game. There was a lot of positives there. And now we've got this international break. We're coming back into a Fulham game, a Brentford game. I think it's Manchester United, Everton. So, Fulham's a game there you really want to try and pick up points. A Brentford side who at home, I would be hopeful we could get a result against. Manchester United's always a tough one, but, they have their moments as well. And then Everton at home, a team who haven't been very good this season. You're looking at those 4 games and you're starting to think, what wins can we get? And as we look at the Fulham game this weekend, as we start to look ahead at some of the upcoming games, what you want is all of your best players back fit again. And as I say, we were kind of coming out of the end of some injury issues with Callum Wilson just about looking fit again. Maxi just about looking fit again. We saw Bruno start the Bournemouth game and you're thinking, right, get through this international break unscathed, hit Fulham with a fully fit team. I am very unsure if we have a single fit striker to play against Fulham, never mind have a fully fit squad. As I say, Callum Wilson's under question because we don't know when he'll quite be back. There's a lot of hope that the Fulham game will be his return, and I'm desperately hoping that's going to be the case. Alexander Isak, he's returned from international duty with Sweden due to picking up an injury over there, was pretty much ruled out from the moment he got there. He actually was asked to train separately from the players to make sure that he didn't aggravate it, and then was sent back to Newcastle. Now there's conflicting reports about all of these rumours right now as to how serious they are, whether players will be fit for Fulham. No one quite knows the full story. And Newcastle are obviously going to hold that close to their chest. If I'm honest, I don't think we'll find out the full extent until probably the lineups. I don't even think Eddie Howe will want to reveal too much. He's obviously not going to hide behind the fact that we have got injuries, but I don't think he will be quite so forward to reveal what's going to happen. So that's question marks over Wilson and Isak. We don't know what that injury is. We'll have to wait and see. And then Chris Wood came off early for his game for New Zealand after feeling, I think it was a collision, and it's thought to potentially be bruised or potentially even broken ribs. Still waiting for an update on that. Can he play against Fulham with bruised ribs? Probably, if we really needed him to. But no question it hurts, and there's no doubt he's not going to want to, take a hit. He's got some time between now and the game, but still it's an awfully painful one, despite that, it's not in his legs. He can still run around, he can still get involved, but he's not going to want to, really aggravate that. So that's our three strikers. And whether you're a Chris Wood fan or not, I'd rather him play up front than have no strikers at all. So Wilson, Isak and Wood all questioned right now. Some potential good news that I'll come on to is that Maxi looks like he could well be fit for the Fulham game. Now, that's huge news. Does that mean we could potentially see us have to play Maxi up front this weekend? God, I hope it doesn't come to that, but at least we could have someone available there. He posted on his, I think it was TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, of him saying basically that he's looking like he's coming back. He did a little dance, which was lovely to see. Newcastle United themselves actually reposted it as well. And he was a player who was not called up for international duty. We thought that he would kind of be back in time for Fulham, similar with Callum Wilson. Obviously, nothing's confirmed, but I do feel like Maxi posting something like that, Newcastle retweeting it, I think they would be a little bit careful to do so if they didn't believe that he was fit. And I do feel like because of a lot of the worrying news with the amount of injuries right now, they're almost using that as a yes, there is someone here, there is someone on his way back. A little bit more quiet on the Callum Wilson, as I say, but if we could have the pair of them back, all of a sudden maybe it's not quite as bad. But to go from bad to good with Maxi, to bad with the strikers, good with potential, good with Maxi, and go back to bad again, Bruno Guimarães picked up, he had an injury. We brought him back for the Bournemouth game, played some of the game, struggled to really get into the game in the way I think most of us hoped, but I don't think we rushed him back because he had probably longer out than most people thought, but we certainly brought him in, played him in a game that he didn't quite get into, took him off early. He obviously wanted to go away with Brazil. Was there a question mark over whether it was too soon for him to go away and play that camp? But at the same time, they will look after him when he's there, and with the World Cup coming up, there's no way you're going to pull a player away from a call-up. And I'm glad he went. I want to see all of the Newcastle players perform in international duty. It just so happens that this hasn't really been the one. This has not been the weekend for us. It hasn't been the weekend for the players either, or the week for the players, considering that they want to put that impression down for the World Cup as well. So anyway, with Bruno, he picked up a knock at the start of the break. It was thought to not be too serious, thought that he would miss that first Brazil game, but would likely be back in time for the second Brazil game. That has not been the case. Bruno has now been sent home, just like Alexander Isak was. Bruno has been sent home from the Brazil squad back to Newcastle for an assessment, because they've decided that they will not be able to use him in their upcoming game because of injury, which is not good news. Conflicting reports on this one as well. Some saying that maybe it's not as big of a worry, or it's not as big of an injury as first thought, and it's purely precaution to send him back rather than risk him in any game. If they're not going to risk him in the game, then it makes just as much sense to send him home early rather than to just kind of be there. At least Newcastle can have the chance to give him a proper look and see what he needs, hopefully in time for the Fulham game. To add to that, Anderson withdrew from the under-21 squad as well. That was said to be a knock. Now, it's a little bit different, that one, because we saw Sven Botman pull out of the Netherlands under-21s team, and that was more to the fact that he wasn't going to make the call-up for the World Cup. or it didn't look likely that he would have done, and would prefer to concentrate on his game rather than go with the under-21s. I don't know I think Anderson probably would have wanted the experience. So I'm 50-50 there. Would he have pulled out in a similar manner, or has he actually picked up a knock? If he has, then that's another player to add to the list. A player that we haven't heard too much about, and I will just add this on at the end, is Jonjo Shelvey as well. Obviously, Crafty, he is not going to be back. Jonjo Shelvey has actually been reportedly begun, some training again. He's back out doing some light training. Now, Eddie Howe included him in the squad, despite the fact that he wasn't thought to be back until January. And if that was the case, we would have just included him in the January squad. So it didn't really make sense. It's now starting to make more sense, and it's thought that Jonjo Shelvey could well be back ahead of, to get in time before we get to the World Cup. So he could actually get some game time, which would be massive considering the number of potential injuries that are going on right now. All I can do is report on what has been said at this moment because of the fact that nothing's really been released. As I say, as it stands, all three of our strikers are injured. Wilson, Isak and Wood. Could Isak's and Wood's injury be not as bad as first thought and could feature this weekend? Possibly. Could Wilson be back this weekend? Possibly. Is Maxi going to return? It's looking good. Could Bruno be back? Possibly. It's so in the air right now. It could well be that we play Fulham this weekend and everyone's back. The concern is we could well play Fulham this weekend and nobody's back, and that's when things are a little bit scary. So that is the Monday update. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm praying that it is all not quite what it seems and that we could well be okay this weekend. But let me know your thoughts down below on some of the news coming out on some of those injuries. As I say, we aren't likely going to play Isak, Wood and Wilson. So really it's the hope that either one of the knocks isn't that bad, or maybe Wilson is back to play. And then I think if we bring Maxi in, that is a huge add. Even if we can get Bruno on the pitch for some of the game, but with an outlet like Maxi, will really help us because he's a player that we've very much missed. Eddie Howe said it himself, how much we've missed Maxi in these last few games. So let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your thoughts on what could we do should the strikers not be available. Would we put Maxi up front? Would we try and play some sort of false nine? It's a strange one. But hopefully, well, I'm crossing my fingers that we will have some players back in time for the weekend. All right, guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like, subscribe if you are new. If you're still watching 12 minutes later and you haven't subscribed, please do. I'll be back tomorrow for the usual Toon Tuesdays. That's when I go through all of the news in the world of Newcastle over the last week, and there's quite a lot to get through tomorrow, so be sure to check it out. Subscribe, notifications on so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.